Welcome to our channel, and we are going to talk about an important topic, which is about India and Pakistan. Two nations connected by history, but haunted by a past filled with division and conflict. It all began back in 1947 when the British decided to pack their bags and leave the Indian subcontinent. But instead of a clean break, they drew a line, splitting the land into two India and Pakistan. This partition led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history, with millions displaced and countless lives lost in the ensuing chaos and violence. The scars of partition ran deep, and the two newborn nations found themselves locked in a bitter rivalry that has shaped their destinies ever since. The dispute over Kashmir, a region of breathtaking beauty nestled in the Himalayas, became a festering wound, leading to three full-blown wars in 1947, 1965, and 1971. But it wasn't just about land. The ghosts of past conflicts, the pain of partition, and the weight of history continued to cast a long shadow over India-Pakistan relations. Terrorist attacks, fueled by religious extremism and political opportunism, became a tragically familiar occurrence, pushing the two nuclear-armed neighbors closer to the brink. From the 2001 attack on the Indian Parliament to the 2016 Uri attack and the 2019 Pulwama attack, each incident deepened the mistrust and animosity, making the path to peace feel like an impossible dream. As the years passed, the hope for a brighter future seemed to fade, replaced by a growing sense of inevitability that another war was just a matter of time. The year is 2025. The world, still reeling from pandemics and climate change, hoped for a moment of respite. But in the volatile region of South Asia, tensions between India and Pakistan, always simmering beneath the surface, were about to reach boiling point once more. On a fateful day in April 2025, the serene beauty of Pahalgam, a picturesque town nestled in the heart of Indian-controlled Kashmir, was shattered by a horrific act of terror. A devastating attack targeting innocent civilians ripped through the town, leaving behind a trail of death and destruction. 26 lives were brutally cut short, their families and a nation left to mourn with unimaginable grief and anger. India immediately pointed the finger at Pakistan, accusing its neighbor of harboring and supporting the terrorist group responsible for the attack. Pakistan, as it had done so many times before, clearly denied any involvement, claiming it was happening for India's internal problems. The blame game and the war of words only served to escalate tensions, pushing the two nuclear-armed neighbors dangerously close to the brink of another war. The Pahalgam attack, it seemed, had become one of the main reasons for the India-Pakistan conflict. In the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack, India vowed a swift and decisive response. The nation was reeling, its citizens demanding justice and retribution. The government, under immense pressure to act, authorized a military operation that would have far-reaching consequences. On May 7, 2025, Indian fighter jets soared across the line of control, the border that divides Kashmir between India and Pakistan. Their target alleged terrorist training camps and infrastructure located within Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Code-named Operation Sindoor, the airstrikes marked a significant escalation in the conflict, pushing the two nations closer to the brink of war. India claimed that the strikes were precise and targeted only terrorist infrastructure, minimizing civilian casualties. However, Pakistan painted a different picture, accusing India of aggression and claiming that the strikes resulted in civilian casualties and damage to civilian infrastructure. Operation Sindoor sent shockwaves throughout the region and beyond. The international community watched with bated breath, urging both sides to exercise restraint and prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. But the drums of war were beating louder, and the path to de-escalation seemed treacherous and uncertain. Pakistan, reeling from the Indian airstrikes, vowed a clear and measured response. The nation felt violated, its sovereignty challenged. The military establishment, always a powerful force in Pakistani politics, demanded retaliation, further fueling the cycle of violence. In the days that followed Operation Sindoor, Pakistani forces responded with artillery fire across the line of control, targeting Indian military positions and civilian areas. While Pakistan claimed its actions were in self-defense and aimed at destroying further Indian aggression, the exchange of fire resulted in casualties on both sides, pushing the region closer to the brink. The situation remained extremely tense, with both sides accusing the other of ceasefire violations and rising the conflict. The risk of miscalculation and further increased and bloomed large, casting a dark cloud over the entire region. As the conflict between India and Pakistan rose, the international community watched with, growing concern. The specter of a full-blown war between two nuclear-armed nations sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, prompting urgent calls for de-escalation and dialogue. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency meeting urging both India and Pakistan to exercise maximum restraint and avoid any actions that could further inflame the situation. The United States, along with other major powers, issued statements expressing deep concern over the rising tensions, urging both sides to engage in dialogue and find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. However, the international community's efforts to mediate and control the situation faced significant challenges. The long-standing rivalry between India and Pakistan, coupled with the lack of trust and deep-rooted suspicions, made finding common ground a difficult task. As the conflict between India and Pakistan raged on, a chilling reality cast a long shadow over the region. Both nations possessed nuclear weapons. The very existence of these weapons of mass destruction transformed the conflict from a regional dispute into a global concern, raising the stakes to unimaginable levels. The possibility, however remote, of a nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan sent shivers down the spines of world leaders. The consequences of such an event would be catastrophic, not just for the two nations involved, but for the entire world. The international community, acutely aware of the existential threat posed by a nuclear conflict, redoubled its efforts to de-escalate the situation. Diplomatic channels worked overtime, with world leaders engaging in frantic phone calls and shuttle diplomacy to try and bring both sides back from the brink. While diplomats and politicians engaged in a high-stakes game of chess, it was the ordinary citizens of India and Pakistan who bore the consequences of the conflict. The human cost of war, often overlooked in the midst of political posturing, became a heartbreaking reality for millions caught in the crossfire. In the border regions of Kashmir, where the fighting was most intense, families were forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in makeshift camps. The lucky ones managed to escape with their lives, but many were not so fortunate. Civilian casualties mounted on both sides, each life lost a tragedy that added to the already immeasurable suffering. The conflict also took a heavy toll on the economies of both nations. Trade and commerce were disrupted, businesses were shuttered, and livelihoods were destroyed. The economic uncertainty added to the sense of despair, particularly among the most vulnerable sections of society. Amidst the darkness and despair, a faint glimpse of hope emerged. The international community's efforts to mediate, coupled with the realization on both sides that the conflict was unsustainable and unprofitable to their national interests, created a small window of opportunity for peace. Back-channel diplomacy, often shrouded in secrecy, played a crucial role in bridging the trust deficit and facilitating dialogue. Religious leaders, academics, and civil society activists, recognizing the urgent need for peace, raised their voices, urging their governments to choose dialogue over confrontation. The road to peace was fraught with challenges, but the alternative, a protracted conflict with the potential to escalate into a nuclear nightmare, was simply unthinkable. The international community, recognizing the high stakes involved, stood ready to support any genuine effort to find a lasting solution to their differences. The 2025 India-Pakistan War, like all wars, left a permanent mark on the hearts and minds of those who lived through it. It served as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked hatred and mistrust. As the dust settled and the guns fell silent, a profound sense of fatigue and a yearning for lasting peace settled over both nations. The realization dawned that the path to a brighter future lay not in the cycle of violence and retribution, but in embracing dialogue, reunion, and a shared commitment to building a more peaceful and prosperous future for all. The lessons learned from the 2025 conflict, however painful, offered an opportunity for both India and Pakistan to chart a new course, one based on mutual respect, understanding, and a shared vision for a future free from the specter of war. The road ahead would be long and dangerous, but the pursuit of peace, however complicated, remained the only viable option for two nations bound by history, geography, and a shared destiny. So, if you liked the video, then don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.